I'm sorry, I can't leave my room. That wasn't the sentence I expected to hear, standing in the hotel lobby in the middle of a Canadian winter, still holding a hot coffee and imagining an entirely different scene, a smile, a first hug, a gentle look after a year of only seeing each other through screens. But life isn't a movie. After a year of texting every night, video calls across time zones, sharing trivial sorrows like a shirt shrinking after its first wash, I flew nearly 8,000 kilometers to meet the girl who made me believe I could start again after a failed marriage. Emily, the name I once wrote by hand in a small notebook, drawing a heart beside it. She told me not to worry about the plane ticket, just pick a date and she'd make time. She sent me photos of Montreal's snow-covered streets, saying winter there was cold but heartbreakingly beautiful. She said, "I've never wanted to meet anyone as much as I want to meet you." And I believed her. But when I arrived, when I stood just a few floors away from her, in the same hotel in the same city we'd called our dream meeting place, all I got was a trembling text, no emojis, no exclamation marks. "I can't leave my room, I'm sorry." I didn't know how to react. Not angry, not blaming, just frozen. A year of imagining this moment, only to end up alone in a nearby cafe, watching my tea go cold as my emotions melted in my chest. No knock on the door. No one running up to say, "I've changed my mind." Just snow falling slowly, cold and silent, like an answer I never wanted to receive. And I sat there, not for one afternoon, but many. I waited, not for her to change, but for myself to understand. Sometimes love comes so close, but gets stuck on the other side of a door. And I had to choose, wait forever, or learn to walk away, not out of anger, but out of care. My relationship with Emily started gently, like stumbling upon a new song you didn't expect to become the only one you want to hear every night. We met on a tech forum. She was a remote UI designer. I was a software engineer. Our first messages were about work, then slowly shifted to music, movies, small hobbies, and eventually to the loneliness neither of us dared name. Emily had a way of making you feel heard, not just reading your words, but hearing the silences. Every night, we texted, then moved to hours-long video calls. Once, I fell asleep with the screen still on, and woke to find her still there, dozing off in her chair, still wearing the gray sweater I'd said looked like the warmest winter of your life. She'd laugh when I told silly stories. She'd pause mid-conversation to ask, "Are you sad?" And when I said, "I'm fine," she'd send a reply that made my heart tighten. "You don't always have to be okay, Lucas." I started looking forward to her morning texts more than coffee. I called our chats trips without tickets, because one call could take us to Iceland, reading books together on screen, or sitting quietly listening to the rain in each other's cities. Then, one early December night, Emily said, "If I book a hotel, will you come?" I didn't need to think twice. I said yes, as if it was what I'd waited my whole life for. She chose Montreal, a place she said was beautiful enough to start anything. She sent photos of the hotel, a small room with a window overlooking the old town. She even texted, "I'll bring my camera. I want to photograph you in the snow." But when I arrived, no camera, no knock on my door. Emily sent a curt message, "I'm sorry, I can't leave my room." At first, I thought she was joking or sick. But by the second, third day, it became clear. It wasn't that she didn't want to, it was that she couldn't. Emily withdrew like a bird afraid of light. Each time I knocked on her door, I'd hear faint footsteps inside. I left food bags outside her door, sometimes with a note, "If you can't come out today, that's okay. I'll still be here." I sat alone in the cafe below the hotel where we'd planned to meet for the first time. I watched people pass by, my mind full of unanswered questions. Did I do something wrong? Did I imagine too much? Was she never serious? But deep down, I knew this wasn't deceit. This was panic. It was the anxiety she'd mentioned in our late night talks when she said, "I'm scared of crowds. I can't sit near people too long. I once canceled an interview because I couldn't leave the house." Back then, I thought she was exaggerating, but now I saw it, clear, silent, and heartbreaking. Not for me, for her. I didn't know where this would lead. But I knew some meetings don't happen as we hope, but they're still necessary to understand that love isn't just getting close to someone. Sometimes it's sitting outside their door and not walking away. The A5. I remember it clearly because the sky was gloomier than usual. The snow no longer fell heavily like the days before, just light flakes drifting like chalk dust in the air. I thought it mirrored my emotions, unclear, not painfully cold, but enough to leave me numb. The previous 4 days, I followed a strange routine. Each morning, I'd wake early, grab a coffee to leave outside Emily's door. I didn't know if she took it, but the cup always disappeared. Each afternoon, I'd walk the old town, watching couples hand in hand and wondering if we could have been part of that, if things were different. Each evening, I'd leave a small note, sometimes a gentle quote, sometimes just, "Today I saw the bookstore you sent a link to. You said you wanted to visit it." I didn't expect a reply. I just hoped. I wasn't making her more afraid. Because I understood, in Emily's world, someone approaching too fast could trigger a full-blown panic. I started learning to be present without intruding. Then, on the 5th day, around 3 p.m., there was a knock on my door. I couldn't believe it. I thought it might be the hotel staff by mistake. But when I opened it, Emily was standing there. Gray hoodie, hair tied messily, eyes still tired, but she stood tall, trembling slightly, and said softly, "If you want, we can take a short walk, but not too far." I didn't hug her, didn't take her hand. I just nodded, grabbed my coat, and walked beside her like old friends meeting after years apart. We strolled slowly along a path near Jacques Cartier Park. Emily walked looking down, occasionally kicking small patches of snow. I didn't ask anything, but that silence prompted her to start talking. She said that the first morning she knew I'd arrived, she sat by her window for an hour, watching the hotel lobby, wanting to come down but unable to. She said my notes made her feel both warmed and guilty because she didn't know if she deserved such patience. I just smiled. I told her I didn't come to demand anything. I came to give myself a chance to see the girl I'd loved through a screen in real light with real steps. We stopped at a small pastry cart. She ordered a beignet, I got black coffee. She took a bite and laughed because sugar stuck to her nose. And in that moment, for the first time in 5 days, I heard her laugh, the same as in our late night calls, but now it was right here, close enough to see the light in her eyes. The walk lasted only 30 minutes. We returned to the hotel. She said goodbye softly and went back to her room. But to me, those 30 minutes were an opening chapter, not grand, not climactic, but proof that sometimes love is staying, even when the other person isn't ready to step toward you. The night before I left Montreal, I sat in my silent hotel room, so quiet I could hear my own breathing. Outside, snow started falling again, and the faint yellow streetlights across the road glowed through my window like a slow goodbye. I couldn't sleep, not out of anger, not out of regret, but because I was trying to find a way to leave without leaving her with guilt. So I wrote a letter, not an email, not a text. A real handwritten letter, something I hadn't done for anyone in nearly a decade. I opened the small notebook I used for jotting software ideas and wrote on a blank page. "Emily, I don't blame you. I never have. I know the anxiety you face every day isn't something you chose. And I also know for you to bravely open your door and walk with me that afternoon wasn't small. You don't owe me anything. Not a perfect date, not hugs, not apologies. But there's one thing I need to say, not to blame, but so we understand. Love needs more than texts. It needs presence. It needs eyes meeting, shared silences in the same space. It needs real moments, even if imperfect. I didn't come here to change you. I just wanted to step into your world if you'd let me. But if you're not ready right now, I respect that. I'm going back, but not with bitterness. Just with a little regret for the beautiful thing we tried. Lucas." I folded the letter, slipped it into an envelope, and quietly slid it under her door. No knock, no text to announce it. I didn't want to add pressure. Just left, a gentle farewell, like placing a flower at someone's doorstep, not expecting to be welcomed, but wanting them to know someone was here. The next morning, I dragged my suitcase to the lobby. It was still cold. The receptionist wished me good luck with a small smile. I smiled back, pulled my suitcase out the door, and didn't look back. My heart didn't shatter, but it felt heavy. Not because I lost a relationship, but because I lost something that felt so close to a beginning. Sometimes love doesn't end in fights or betrayal. It ends when two people can't walk at the same pace despite both trying. And then you have to keep walking, not because you stop loving, but because you know, love also needs the right distance to avoid hurting each other more. I didn't expect anything after returning. No hope for a text. No expectation of a next time. I went back to my old job, sat at my familiar desk, opened the same laptop, drank the same coffee, but things weren't the same. Not because I was hurt, but because a quiet space had opened inside me, soft but hard to heal. I let it fade into the background. I didn't delete the photo of Montreal's snowy street from my phone, but I didn't look at it either. I didn't mention her in conversations. I didn't tell friends I'd flown so far to sit alone in a strange city. Then, one Saturday afternoon, while watering small plants on my balcony, my phone buzzed lightly. Emily. The first time in nearly 3 weeks. The message was just one line: I've started therapy. I stood still for a long time. Then a second message appeared slowly. I don't want to lose you just because of my own fears. I didn't read further. I didn't reply right away. I just let out a long breath. And for the first time in days, my chest felt a little lighter. Not because I thought everything would be okay, but because I knew she decided not to hide anymore. I texted back that evening. No promises, no plans for the future. Just simply, I'm here, but this time we'll go slow. Together, if you want. She sent a smiley face, nothing more, but to me, that was enough. Because not every relationship starts with a kiss under fireworks or a hug at the airport. Some begin with a text and a small act of courage, daring to face oneself. Since that day, we don't text daily. Not out of distance, but because we're both focusing on healing. She attends therapy regularly, sometimes sending me photos of a calf corner she dared to sit in alone, or a book she finished without the chest-tightening panic she used to feel. I've changed too. I'm learning not to save her, but to quietly walk beside her. I'm learning not to expect her to be the ideal partner, but to hope she becomes herself, steady and free from the anxieties that once held her back. We don't know how far we'll go. No one talks about moving in together or planning a wedding. But we call each other traveling companions. Because sometimes love isn't about finding the perfect person. It's about finding someone patient enough to sit with you, even when you can't yet step out of that room. If you've ever loved someone, not because they made you happy instantly, but because they made you want to be a better version of yourself, then you'll understand some loves don't start with, I love you. They start with, I'm trying, don't go. True love isn't always perfect photos, poetic words, or embraces at sunset. It's when you're understanding enough to accept someone, even when they're an unstable, broken version showing nothing perfect. Not every journey has fireworks, but sometimes a nod, a text saying, I'm still here, is enough to keep hope alive. Because love sometimes is simply being patient as someone overcomes themselves. Have you ever met someone you've never seen in person, but felt deeply connected to? Do you believe in second chances after disappointment? Leave a comment if you've experienced a special but imperfect relationship. Like if you've loved someone, for their pain and their effort. And don't forget to subscribe for more touching, gentle, yet profound stories for those who've loved sincerely.